Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 13 of the ANZCAR Cup here at Kansas Motor Speedway for 24/7. Sim Services, of course, bringing you the ANZCAR Cup this season. We are getting ready for the race tonight. As I said, round 13 of the series. I'm joined up here in the booth by Mr. Matty Hunter. Matt, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Pretty busy tonight, so might have to leave you to do a little bit of talk for the start of this while I just catch up. Obviously, organising, hosting the races and stuff, so pulling double duty or triple duty tonight. So yeah, still getting everything sorted.
Absolutely, pressing all the buttons and doing all the hard work as always, and getting hardly any of the recognition it deserves. Matty Hunter, big thank you to him, and big thanks to him getting everything done tonight, of course. Welcome everybody, as we said, welcome to Performance eStreaming, and of course on Facebook as well. We are getting ready for the race, and before we do that, we'll quickly run through the championship standings as they stand. So it is currently Brenton Hobson still in the lead of the championship, just 1 point ahead of Andrew Dyson in second. We have Neil Pearson in third, 43 points down. 44 points down. 71 points down in fourth is Jason Martin. Edward Foster, 76 points down. Michael Scurlock, 78 points down. Josh Micklemore in seventh, 115 down. 132 down is eighth, Gary Wellman. Paul Jackson is ninth with 140 points, and Luke Traher sits in the top 10 in 10th position, 142 off the lead. And there's a few big names that are not out there tonight as well. We're missing Dyson and Foster, two of the big championship names in there, as Foster is currently moving house, and Dyson is off to the Bathurst 12 hours. So a few people away this week. So this could be the chance for a few people to get some extra points on the tally, get some good scoring opportunities, and get some chances in this race. So it's going to be interesting to see how they run. Of course, we are just finishing up the pre-race warm-up. Everybody's just getting used to the track, getting used to the conditions here tonight. We currently have a track temperature of where am I? 42 degrees Celsius. So quite a warm old track out here tonight. Air temperature is 26 degrees. So it is quite warm out there this afternoon in Kansas, of course, and the track temperature being that warm is going to affect these tyres. One of the biggest problems here at Kansas is going to be keeping the tyres cool. That's one of the things you're going to have to work for and look at doing. You're going to see drivers probably running quite low in turns 1 and 2, and then running high in turns 3 and 4, just to try and keep the temperatures balanced between all four sets of tyres. Don't worry too much about the tyre wear. This track is quite flat out. It's quite a fast speedway, coming in at 2.5 kilometers, just about 1.5 miles long. So it is a pretty much flat out track, very, very fast circuit, but tyre warmth is going to be the main factor rather than tyre wear. So keep an eye on people trying to keep the tyres cool. And that's going to be most it's going to cause the most problems when somebody has a little bit of a half spin. If anybody has a little bit of a moment in the corners, they are going to have those tyres get very hot very quickly, and then they could come into grief coming out of turns 4 or turns 2 and losing the rear of the car. So watch out for that. The other thing to look out for tonight is pit entry as well. Keep an eye on pit entry because it has been perilous. Getting the cars stopped is hard. You can see there's somebody locking up all four brakes as they get onto pit road. It is really tricky to get down pit lane here because you're coming in at serious speeds, and these brakes do not heat up quickly. So you need to just press on the brake a little bit down the back straight, just try and get some warmth in there so the wheels don't lock up. But expect to see a fair few people struggling with that in this race because it is one of those things that can really easily catch you out. As we do 130 laps here tonight. Stop wise, we're probably going to be looking at about 2 stops tonight.
Yeah, I think 2 stops I think is needed on fuel
Yeah,
basically.
it should be 2 stops unless somebody can do the biggest fuel save of all time. Tank wise, they're going to be able to make it about 60 laps. So it's asking a lot to make it. on the single stop. Of course, cautions could come into play here, though, and that could affect things a little bit. But we are getting ready to line up here tonight, get ready for the race, and everybody is going to start getting out on track and getting into their starting positions from qualifying. So up on the front row, it is Ruben Phelps taking another pole position. Been having some really good qualifying results in the 06 this season, and does it once again, getting P1 under his name. Neil Pearson lines up on second on the outside row. Then second row, we have Scurlock and Brad Allison. He's going to be hoping for a good night tonight to get himself back in the top 10 of the championship. Third row is Micklemore and Wellman. Fourth row is Wayne Burke and Jaden Russell. Fifth row, we have Jaeger and Scotty Griffiths. Fifth row is Dordenack and Nan Curvis. Sixth row, we have Freer and Douglas. Seventh row, we have Trahair and Witcher. Eighth row is Martin and Hobson. Hobson is going to want to try and capitalise tonight, make the most of his championship rival Dyson not being here. Ninth row is Stove and Patterson. 10th, we have Neil and Malone. 11th row is Clark and Mr. Sheen himself, Matty Ray. 12th, we have Darren Lobb and Phil Otto. Then Paul Jackson, Nathan Bunton and Noddy Tompkins rounds us out. And just giving us a bit of a wave in the chat is Mr. Dyson himself, who is off enjoying himself at Mount Panorama at the moment. I hope he has a really good weekend and gets to enjoy himself. Hopefully it's not wet and lovely weather down there for him.
Hopefully it is, yeah. Of course, you got the 12-hour on to... was it Sunday? Saturday or Sunday? I'm not sure.
I've forgotten.
I do know it's going to start in the dark and finish in the dark, I believe.
Yeah, it starts nice and early in the morning.
Yeah.
I think it's a Sunday, I think. Yeah, Sunday. It is Sunday, yeah. So, of course, they start about 6 a.m., I think it is. And it is nice and dark at that time when you get that beautiful sunrise blinding you as you go across the top of the hill. And then it's lovely sunset, and that blinds you when you're going up the hill. So it's horrible all the way across it through those periods. But we are getting ready for green here. Is Ruben Phelps leading us away? The green flag will drop for round 13 of the ANZCAR Cup Championship, and a great start from Ruben Phelps. Scurlock dropping low straight away. Looked like he might have been thinking to drop back a little tiny bit. Doesn't do it though. Watch people trying to cut across that section early on to try and make some moves, but people could get caught out in it. Good start there from Phelps, but Scurlock has got a great run on him using the side drafts. Gets really good run out of the corner. Scurlock looking to try and take the lead here. Goes down the inside of turns 3 and 4. Makes a beautiful move there. Michael Scurlock taking the lead of the race at the moment. Will we see Phelps get the run off the corner? Managed to make it back past Scurlock across the start-finish line. It's going to be nose to nose, and it is Phelps just leading by a whisker at the moment, but they are side by side as they get into 2 and 3, and Scurlock gets in front of Phelps. He's taken out low line at the moment. We've got cars running too wide across the field as it stands. Josh Micklemore making a good move up into 3rd place. He's looking to make a move on Ruben Phelps as well at the moment. We drop back a little bit. Scotty Griffiths, Dave Douglas have fallen into a secondary pack. Mirko Dortnat sitting on the back of the first pack at the moment. But up front, it is the battle of Michael Scurlock, who has taken the lead for the time being, and Josh Micklemore is trying to get up there too. The cars are starting to fall into a more single-line formation now as the race starts to settle in, although Tom Freer is doing a good job of trying to pass a few cars. Brad Allison and Mirko Dortnat having a good fight with Dave Douglas on their tail as well.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty busy. Good, nice wide racing respect though. I think we're seeing a little bit of 3 wide behind. Let's have a quick look at that. It's calmed down to a bit more 2 wide. Interesting to see that Scurlock and Micklemore at the front. 2 guys who are probably maybe lacking a little bit of form at the moment. Good opportunity for them tonight to get a little bit of form and maybe grab a win.
Oh, wow. Who was that? Tom Freer just had a big moment in the mid-corner. He managed to save it, but he was sideways going through that corner, and that's going to put some serious heat into those rear tyres. Watch out for him. He might have a bit of a struggle coming out of turn 4 now. Will he be able to hold it in there? He does just about. Gets very close to Luke Trahair, but big moment for him. He managed to save it. A little bit further back, Hobson is on the move as well. He's starting to work his way up through the field, getting past getting past Scotty Griffiths, I should say. He's starting to work his way up, but yeah, indeed, a good night, good chance tonight for Scurlock and Bicklemore to get their season a little bit better underway for them. They've had a bit of a poor start. A few of the drivers have had trouble as Raymond Jaeger up into the wall. He collects the wall. First car to get caught. Big check-up, and that's caused a big moment behind him. A little bit of damage on the front right of that car, and you can see just the difference of speed there as the cars go flying past him at the moment. Big moment there, and that's disastrous for Jaeger, who was running quite well up until that point.
This is a fairly energised pack around here, that's for sure. There's 2 and 3 wide racing, cars all on top of each other, bit of contact there. It's very energised start of the race for these guys.
It is, but lots of respect being shown, and lots of people are giving space, which is good. Who is that just having a big moment? Who's that off on the track? Who's that off on the inside? It looks like
Freya.
Yeah, Tom Freya.
Yeah.
He's had a big moment as he's actually had contact. Is it contact? Yeah, contact with Barry Neal. He's just gone down and just gone in front of Barry Neal, unfortunately, and made contact with him. He managed to save the car, though. Really good job of saving that one. As Tristan Koch was actually just coming out of pit lane, I believe. So I'm not sure what's happened to Tristan to be in pit lane this early. I think he might have just missed the start, unfortunately. So he's 6 laps down. But he could, if we get 6 cautions in succession, he could possibly get back on the lead lap.
He's sitting in the lucky dog position now.
It's going to have to be a very lucky dog to get back on the lead lap, I think.
You never know. Never give up. You never know. There might be 6 cautions.
Exactly. You can never tell what's going to happen. And that's it, never giving up, because you can always gain positions. And of course, people, if they get knocked out of the race, there are positions to be gained as well. Currently, Michael Scurlock is having a great run up the front. Meanwhile, Neil Pearson is having to battle off Wayne Burke, who's having a really good run down the inside in the Synergy Racing team. It's great to see a few more of the Synergy boys coming out to play. And we've seen Burke a couple of times this season. Right. Well established on the road tracks and really coming well together on the ovals as well. He's got some good experience on the ovals. It looks like Paul Jackson maybe has had a bit of a moment.
Maybe Barry.
No, it was Barry. Sorry, it was Barry.
Seems to be dropping on the lap timing that I've got here.
Oh, Barry and Jaeger just got contact into each other, and they managed to save the cars, but I saw a car just going very slowly out of turn 4. Really good save there from Barry Neal. Just a bit too much rub in there and just caused the car to go sideways. But, again, another great save. These cars seem really balanced tonight, and they're able to actually save them, which is something we've not seen much this season with this Gen 7 Cup car.
No, it might be a bit more forgiving tonight.
Definitely looks that way. Really good run as well. Just looking through the field of big movers. Adam Malone up 9 positions. He is having a really good run at the moment in P13. And Brenton Hobson as well up 8 positions. So keep an eye on the big movers throughout the night. We'll always keep a little eye out to see who gets the most positions gained. Michael Scurlock's almost pulled out a second lead at the front though. He is really pulling ahead as Josh Micklemore gets very close to the wall, has to ease off the pedal, and he loses a couple of spots. So Micklemore just lost a few positions there as he got so close to the wall. I don't think he made contact, but he had to just lift off the pedal slightly, just glanced the wall, and that lost him a position to Russell and Ruben Phelps, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Ruben's in second there. So Ruben's back up to second, and Russell up to third.
Yeah, good recovery from Ruben. He's been suffering from VR issues this past week. He thinks he's finally got the issue solved.
Oh, I feel the pain. I feel the pain of VR issues. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun. It was a light in his room that was playing havoc with one of the sensors apparently, and causing it to make him having to turn his head an extra 40 odd degrees to the right so he could see straight. So it was costing him a lot of time and causing quite a bit of pain as well apparently. So it's nice that he's finally worked out what that issue is and can get back to racing at full pelt. Speaking at racing, just behind Jamie Nankervis at the moment is an absolute just crazy pack of cars. It is absolutely insane down there. Drivers are really looking for it as Jaeger again makes contact with the wall, gets up into the wall there, just manages to save the car. Few cars with scrapes there though. Quite a lot of drivers have been banging doors with each other as they go three wide across the start-finish line, with Patterson there as well. It was Jackson, Otto, and Scotty Griffiths, I think, who were three wide for a couple of moments there. But down the back, it is absolutely full of cars, and they are really racing hard. We've still got 115 laps remaining.
Yeah, it's side by side, four deep. That's pretty crazy.
Great to see,
Good racing,
though.
though. Yeah, good racing.
Exactly. And it's great to see these guys keeping it green as well. Obviously, now we've said that, caution will come out, as is tradition. But there's been some really good racing at the moment, and people really showing respect to each other and not going too hard with each other. And I think the slightly more forgiving car is helping a little bit, because we've seen it a couple of times, people sideways and managing to save the car. So obviously, it's either this setup's working better tonight, or drivers have just gotten a little bit more confident with the car. But it's great to see.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I jumped in the other day and with this car and this setup, and I couldn't drive it for. I was going to swear then, but yeah, I couldn't drive it for SHIT really. So these guys are doing really really good. I obviously am not, but I did notice the right front though. So yeah, maybe keep an eye on the right front wheel. That's about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes you look at this and you go, oh yeah, it's pretty easy, it's pretty simple, and especially the cup cars, because they look pretty solid to drive, and they sometimes seem really stable. But you jump in there and you try and actually drive it at speed, and you are really shocked by how hard it is. It takes a lot of effort, and these things are not the easiest and forgiving cars to drive. Unlike, say, the Xfinity and the trucks are not exactly forgiving and easy to drive. The truck maybe a little bit more, as Devon Stove just gets contact with the wall once more. But this seventh gen Cup car is really, really a tricky thing to drive, and it is a beast to get right. But it is a really, it's a rewarding car when you actually do get it right.
It sure is. One guy who's been doing pretty well this year in it, Neil Pearson. He's just moved up, made the pass on Mickelmore there. We just got it on camera, and up to fourth place now for Neil.
Yeah, good run from Pearson, and Hobson as well is absolutely charging forward. He is up into P7. He had a really poor qualifying down in 18th position, but he's managed to get himself up into P7 now. And Wayne Burke as well is all over the back of Josh Mickelmore now, as we start to get into the part of the race where drivers will be just trying to save the tyres a little bit and trying some different strategies and thinking about what to do, especially if we go green for the whole way. They're going to be thinking about different ways. But it is Michael Scurlock in the lead. The 350 currently got almost a 2-second lead over Ruben Phelps. He is absolutely going for it. He has got the chin to the rim, as he'd say, and he is pushing hard at the moment. Just a little bit further back, Adam Malone and Jamie Nankervis are having a little bit of a battle. Adam Malone is trying to get the better of Nankervis is trying to get the better of Malone, and he's got a really good run underneath him right now. Nankervis getting a good run into turns 1 and 2, gets the job done. His teammate Brad Allison just sitting behind as well, looking to move forwards a little bit too.
Yeah, Brad will be looking to make the move as well, follow his teammate through there. Looks like Adam's got a little bit of damage on the right-hand front of that guard, so he's obviously got into the wall a little bit hard. Caused that damage there, and it might be causing a little bit of sort of issue on the right front there with aero, causing it to be a bit more tight, push you out to the wall.
Yeah, of course, and that will start to affect tyres quicker as well. It makes the car a little bit harder to drive. Of course, if you are new to ANZCAR, first of all, welcome to the series. Always a pleasure to have you here. But it is a fixed setup league, so all the setups are fixed, of course. The races, there are no fast repairs, so you don't get any fast repair options, and you are limited to 3 sets of tyres through the race. Of course, you start on a set, and then you've got 3 sets you can change to during the race, which usually doesn't result in any problems, unless it's a track that really does chew up tyres and you get quite a lot of cautions. But it does add a little bit to the strategy as well. Another driver on the move at the moment is Jason Martin. He's currently working his way through the field in the purple Mitchell Motorsport car. It's been a driver that has had a bit of a bad year, really. Jason Martin's had a pretty sort of terrible season in the Cup, and he's still somehow up in the top five of the championship. He's sitting fourth in the championship, despite having barely any top five finishes. Which is, normally for Martin, we expect, a fair few wins and things like that. Yet for this season, he has really been struggling with this car. But even when he's struggling, he's still able to get really solid results and still be sitting in top five of the championship, which is such a Jason Martin thing.
Yeah, we say that he's struggling, but he keeps racking up those top tens. And if you look at the points, he's right up there near the top in the points, and he's been solid. He's not been spectacular, but he's been solid. But I think it's a bit hard for him, in our opinion, because obviously when we started the league 5 years ago, he was the dominant driver, and so we were used to him winning and everything. And now that everybody's kind of caught up ability wise, yeah, it's just I think we still get caught out by it.
It's even so, he's not had a win this season in Cup, and that is strange because neither has Josh Micklemore, but he has had. I think Josh has had a podium at least. Of course, Danny G taking a win, the only driver in the Mitch team to get a win in the Cup Series this season. Because of course Hamish Gallagher is not driving. Of course, Gallagher has been winning every other championship that ANZCAR has to offer.
That would have been really interesting to see how Hamish would go in this car.
Exactly.
Because he's winning everything else.
We've got to lure him out in the car at least once, try and get him out there, just see how he goes. But yeah, he has been having a fantastic run. And Mitch have been having a really solid result in the other series as well, in the trucks and the Xfinity, of course. But in the Cup, they've just been struggling. As we said, Danny G's got the win, the only Mitch driver to have a win so far, which is, it is surprising for Mitch to only have one win in a season, especially when we're 13 races in. It's just... it's one of those odd little things, and I'm sure they want that to change quite quickly. But Jason's just he's sort of been struggling to even get on the podium this season. So it's been, as I say, it's an un-Jason Martin-like performance, but he's still being Jason Martin and still scoring really good points.
Indeed, yeah, indeed.
Even on an off season, he's able to still score points.
I guess that's the trouble when there's a few good guys up the front ahead of you now as well. So,
well, that's it. The competition has definitely stepped up a notch as Jaden Russell starts to make a move on Neil Pearson right now. Gets the job done into turn one, comes up, blocks Pearson up the front. Beautiful move from J. Russ there. Very nicely done. For a driver that is really coming on leaps and bounds on the oval side. Now Neil Pearson's come and run back down towards turn 3 and 4, gets the move done, goes in early, drops in nice and low. Pearson's going to do exactly the same to Jaden Russell as Russell did to him, comes up, gets in front of him, blocks him off a little bit, slows him down, and this has given Wayne Burke the chance to get closer to this battle. Burke now in an opportunity to get involved in this fight for P3.
Yeah, good battle there, good battle. Pays to keep an eye on it. I know there's not much love lost between the two of them, so good to see them keep it clean.
Exactly. Look, Neil Pearson's he's a driver that tends to drive pretty hard, and there's quite a few drivers out there that there's no love lost between them. But Pearson, he always he's one of those drivers that will always go for it. And he puts the absolute most into it. He will really go for everything and defend as hard as he can. He's one of those drivers that does not stop. A little bit further back, we've got a great battle going on between Mirko Dortnack, Tom Freer, who's working his way back up through the field after that little half spin he had through turns 1 and 2, losing the rear end. Obviously, those tyres are cooled down a little bit now. He's able to get back on the pace, working his way through nicely. Barry Neal also working his way back up the pack. We saw him have a moment, just getting caught on the rear and just losing a little bit and almost having a full spin, but managed to save it. Great job for that one. But he's on his way back and moving his way forwards, and I'm sure he'll want to get back up there after that little half incident. Carl's almost going free wide a little bit further back with Gary Wellman, Darren Lobb, and Adam Malone. Darren Lobb has been having a good run as well, one of those other DPR drivers. He has had some really good performances recently, got his first podium as well, so he's managed to crack that side open. And he's one of those drivers that, definitely is with a shot of taking a victory this season. And speaking of competition, he's down in 19th position at the moment. Sorry, 18th position at the moment. And we've seen him running up the top quite a few races, and this just shows just how tight the field is. It is very much a, it every race you can't really go into a race saying, "Oh, this person's guaranteed to win." That we've sort of said before. Hobson and Dyson are very much the drivers to. You tend not to bet against them, but it is still anybody's race. There is a chance that anybody can take it. They have all got speed, and some drivers on some tracks are just lightning quick, and we have seen that a few times. As we're seeing with Michael Scurlock at the moment at the front, 2.5 second lead. Neil Pearson's managed to break out a bit of a gap ahead now. Jaden Russell is currently battling with Wayne Burke, Ruben Phelps falling victim to those two synergy cars, working together to get ahead of Ruben Phelps now, who sits in 5th position. Josh Micklemore just dropping down a little bit in pace. He's now down into 6th position. Hobson has worked his way up nicely in 7th. Another driver that's quietly working his way through the field is Double D, Dave Douglas, of course, the man that drives the fastest casting couch in the world. Always busy in that car. Luke Traher sits next, just behind him, in the After Dark entry. Sorry, Nightcall Racing entry. Sponsored by, of course, the Way Down. Having a good run there in 9th. Watch out for him in the latter stages. He's one of those drivers that tends to be very, very soft on his tyres and tends to come a little bit more alive, especially in a long run. So don't be surprised to see Luke Traher gaining a bit of speed a little bit later in this stint if it remains green.
Yeah,
just behind.
Luke's always very good on his tyres.
Yeah,
so...
he's freakishly good sometimes. I mean, there's been races where sort of we've been out there and you come into pit lane, your tyres are all popped, they're all at 0%. Luke's out there still for another 50 laps, and you're just like, how are you doing this? I don't understand. But he is very good on his tyres, just able to keep them alive somehow, just able to keep that car going. Just a little bit further back in 10th position, rounding out the top 10, is Justin Witcher, driving the Pinnacle Esports Racing entry, of course, sponsored by Witcher Electronics. And he's doing a good job up in P10 at the moment. Pinnacle have been having a really good season, especially with the Lucky 31 when that came into play. They managed to take out pretty much every Lucky 31 race other than one where I think it was Lachlan Urquhart that took out the victory. But Pinnacle have been having a really strong season this year and been doing some really good work. Jason Martin sits just behind him in 11th, and it's Tom Freer, Barry Neal, Jamie Nankervis, Darren Lobb, Dortonack, Jaeger, Wellman, Jackson and Malone that round out the top 20.
I'm just slowly working through all of the cars, trying to give them a bit of camera time and give a little bit of an update for everybody on how everyone's going.
To show off those beautiful, beautiful paint jobs and all those lovely sponsors.
Yeah, I always believe if the guys go to the trouble of painting up these cars, then I'll go to the trouble of trying to show it on the broadcast for them.
Exactly, it's always good to see, and there's some really lovely paint jobs out there, and people put a lot of effort in. It's one of those things as well that people don't realise how much goes into it. It is a lot of time and effort to make these cars looking this good. It's not something that happens overnight, and there are a lot of good companies out there that put a lot of time and effort into painting these cars, of course. You've got people like Riley Curtis, of course, at RCD, who does a great job on painting cars too. So, there are a fair few out there, but a lot of drivers paint their own cars. This battle pack here, got Scotty Griffiths, Adam Malone, Patterson, Norman Clark, and I think Maddie Ray as well down there in the SRM machine, of course, sponsored by Mobile Brake and Mechanical Repair. So if you're ever in Adelaide and car breaks down and need a quick hand, then give them a call. They are having a fantastic little battle, and this is right at the back of the pack. They've been caught by the leader and passed as well, so they are a lap. A couple of them are just getting. Sorry, they've not been caught just yet, but they're getting caught slowly. Sorry, I saw Noddy Tompkins get caught by the leader. So Noddy's fallen down a lap.
Yep, Noddy and Tristan and laps down. Not sure what's happened to Brad.
Yeah. Internet connections, unfortunately, for Brad Allison. Was chatting to him before the race, and apparently somebody put a spade through the one of the copper wires for his internet. So
Oh
they
dear.
switched him over to one of the other ones, and unfortunately, it's the one that everybody else in the neighbourhood uses. So he's been having some bandwidth issues.
Oh, yeah. What a pain.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing, unfortunately, and it's one of the more painful things in sim racing when you got internet connectivity issues, and as we say, it's the closest thing you've got to sort of mechanical issues, I guess. We've got a battle for P9 and 10 at the moment. Luke Trahair and Justin Witcher fighting it out. Trahair on the outside, Witcher on the inside, and they are just a frog or two's hair behind Dave Douglas at the moment. Expect to see Douglas and Trahair try and work together a little bit. Of course, they're all part of the BMX banditry. Mr. Michael Scurlock, and Moped Warnock, of course. It's just not really a team, but just a group of drivers that hang out and have a bit of fun with each other, of course, and it's good to see. And it's one of the things you also get, of course, in league racing and sim racing is that sort of community-based aspect as well, which is great to see. And all the people are so happy to help each other out and try and, there's a lot of, you see sometimes a lot of fighting and battling out on track, and some big
Luke
moment
got on the
there
wall
for
there.
Luke Trahair. You see a lot of the battling and fighting out on track, of course, and sometimes there's no love lost out on track, but as soon as it's off track, it's all fun and games, and everybody's pretty good and chilled out, chatting to people and trying to help them out, which is always great to see. It's always nice to have that community aspect in there, and a lot of the drivers will help out those people that are struggling as well, which is great to see as well. It's always nice when you've got somebody willing to help you out and give you a hand or a tip if you tend to be struggling a little bit. Battle here between Raymond Yeager and Paul Jackson.
Jackson
These
with
two,
his purple wheels that Mark Joe doesn't really like.
yeah, the purple wheels just to give Mark Johansson an aneurysm as Yeager comes into pit lane. So first driver to come into pit lane is Yeager on lap 46. So interesting to see him come down the lane this early. This could be a stroke of genius, or this could turn out to be a poor call, depending on when the caution falls, of course. Having those fresh tyres could absolutely help him out a little bit. Dave Douglas in pit lane as well, actually. So
Mirko's
Douglas
there
and
too, by
Mako
the looks.
Dornak.
Yep. So these are the
So,
guys who are trying to, I think, split it up a bit evenly, the two stops, I think.
yeah.
They're going for it. Two stops.
Luke Trahair in pit lane as well. So Luke's decided to come in early too. So interesting to see. Up the front, Neil Pearson started to catch Scurlock. So the battle for P1 is starting to come alive. Looks like Scurlock might have burnt his tyres off a little bit earlier. Pearson, who fell back quite a bit, obviously saved a little bit more of the rubber on the tyres and is now able to make use of it. Scurlock is just falling behind a little bit, obviously just worn away as the tyres as Pearson gets a bit of a slide in the mid-corner. But it's getting to that time now where you can see who saved tyres and who hasn't. But Scurlock built up such a lead that it's going to be tricky for Pearson to really catch him up. And it also gives Scurlock that little bit of advantage now of he can come into pit lane sort of at his choosing. He's got a bit of a gap between himself and third position. Neil, of course, can watch when Scurlock's going to pit and jump in with him, or stay out an extra lap and try something different. Of course, coming in early can lead to problems because if the caution flag comes out, you've dropped a lap. So if you can stick it out a bit longer sometimes, especially as cars come out on cold tyres, you can sometimes gain a couple of positions if that caution flag falls. As Scurlock comes into pit lane.
You could see there with Raymond having done his pit stop on fresh tyres, you could see he was able to pass Neil there and lining up Scurlock. So it was definitely making a difference.
Hobson in pit lane as well.
Yeah. He's, see if I can grab that camera. Cool.
And now it's going to be a question. Scurlock, sorry, Hobson's missed his pit box. Disaster for Hobbo there. That is going to cost him precious seconds. It's not a big thing, but it is enough to make a difference. And every second counts in this sort of scenario. Just looking at the time, so Michael Scurlock's pit lane time 49 seconds. Sorry, 41.2 Where am I? Just waiting for it to come through. There we go. So Michael Scurlock, 41.3. Brenton Hobson at 43.6. 2.5 seconds lost there from that mistake. That is really going to be costly. Neil Pearson coming in now from the lead. So he has decided it's time to pit. This is going to mean that Wayne Burke is going to come across the line and lead a lap here. So he'll get that bonus point and he'll get that little tick next to his name, which is always nice to have. And it's a nice thing to actually say you've led a lap in ANZCAR sometimes, because the competition is so stiff. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I don't really know what it's like to lead a lap, so yeah.
I'm sure you've led a couple.
I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't. We've led a couple of laps as we've done the completely wrong strategy, stayed out as everybody else has come in and lost a few laps because of that. But
Yeah. Actually, I think you're right. I think I've led some laps when I was trying to be clever and pit on the second lap around and under caution, and the pit lane was closed, so I had to stay out and lead lap.
Yeah, it's always a fun experience to have. I think one of the dodgiest ones I was ever in was with the Weekend Warriors. Oh, and Burke just gets close to scraping the wall there. When they were running their IndyCar league at Phoenix, Edward Foster and Luke Traher were having an absolute mega battle for the lead. And I somehow found myself in third position, and I stayed out a little bit. I think I stayed out an extra lap or two than those guys. And I managed to lead a lap in front of them, and they both came passing me, one on the high side, one on the low side, through the dogleg at Phoenix. And that was a scary moment for all three of us, I think.
I bet it was, especially for the leaders.
Especially for Foster and Traher. I mean, it's it's a scary thing passing me. You never know what's going to happen. But we've got cars really boxed up. Phil Otto has got a lot of cars behind him at the moment, as he just runs a little bit wide. We've got lots of cars on different strategies now. We've got cars on fresh tyres, cars on old tyres. We've got cars that have been beaten up. You can see Jason Martin's got quite a lot of damage on his right side as well, so he's taking a big whack into the wall somewhere. Wayne Burke's keeping it out there much longer, though, so he's hoping for a late caution. We got on lap 55 now, lap 56, so still should have a good couple of laps left in the fuel tank. So taking it that little bit longer could be a bit painful now, of course. They're going to lose a lot of time here, but they might be able to gain some time in the latter stages of the stint.
Yeah, I think Phil might be rolling the dice for the one stop. Saving a bit of fuel, trying to get through to lap 65-ish.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they can actually make it work. It's quite a big. I think it's quite a big ask to get to lap 65. And listening to some of the engine notes, they're not really lifting too much. Of course, we haven't seen too much of Phil this season. I think his third race back. He's definitely clutching it though in the mid corner. He's lifting quite a lot through the mid corner, of course. But he's not lifting off enough, as Dave Douglas is speeding down the lane.
He's hit the wall.
He's had a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. He's hit the wall. Let's see if we can find out why. I wonder why he ducked down to the pits again when he had already done his pit stop. But
he's lost it on the apron. He caught the apron. So just prior to that, Dave Douglas caught the apron, spun the car, and then has come into pit lane, of course, and absolutely copped a speeding penalty for that one, unfortunately. Tom Freer coming into pit lane, as well as Darren Lobb. So those two coming in on lap 58. So they have made it a couple of extra laps. How much further can Wayne Burke, Justin Witcher, Jamie Nankervis, Scott Griffiths, Maddie Ray, Norman Clark and Phil Otto go? That is the big question. If they can make us a one-stop race and we go green all the way, they will be sitting pretty. But Jamie Nankervis is in pit lane. This, of course, does open up options for latter stages of the race as well. So the longer you can leave it here, yes, it does get a bit painful, of course, because you get cars passing you and you do lose time out on track. But if, as a late caution, you could be sitting in a really good position come the latter stages of this race. We've got 70 laps remaining here tonight at Kansas Motor Speedway for round 13 of the ANZCAR Cup. here on Performance e-streaming and of course on the ANZCAR Facebook page. A big thank you to everybody who is watching tonight. Always a pleasure to have you around. Got a few.
Just having a listen to the engine on board, yeah, it definitely sounds like he's saving. Our top 6 cars so far all haven't pitted. So Burke, Witcher, Griffins, Clark, Raymond and Otto, they all have not pitted at the moment. So I think they're all rolling the dice for the 2-stop strategy.
Good evening, David Gray
Sorry,
and Jamie Janet. Yeah, one-stop strategy.
One stop.
Yeah, good evening to Jamie Jammer and David Gray. You're watching us on Facebook and, of course, Mr. Daiso on YouTube. It looks like Wayne Burke is coming in. He is unable to make it any further. Will we see Scotty Griffiths manage to make it a little bit further around the track? Now's the time to see who's really done their job on the fuel saving. Justin Witch has come in as well.
You'd imagine they would have had to save from the very start of the race.
Yeah.
And then even the second stint, they're going to have to extreme fuel save as well. And at some point, is it worth it, So you might as well just go flat, sort of thing.
Well, I think they might be in with a shout if they can make it, but it is can make it. Maddie Ray, just listening on board, he is absolutely clutching it into the corners. He is really going for a big save at the moment, but does he have enough gas in the tank to make it to that halfway point? And it is that tricky thing sometimes, just making it there. I remember a truck race, I'm trying to think where it was now. I decided to try the one-stop strategy, and it did not pay off really for me because, yeah, I did lose a lot of time with that. But I was kind of happy with myself that I did manage a single stop. Phil Otto looks like he's coming into pit lane. Maddie Ray, I think, is coming into pit lane as well this time round. So, yeah, Maddie Ray definitely coming into pit lane. So he's managed to make it to lap 63. This means Norman Clark is in the lead of the race. So Norman Clark managing to make it to a lot longer in this stint, and he could be within a shout of making this as a one-stop. The wily, crafty veteran that is Norman Clark, a lot of experience under his belt. He could pull out something here if he can just manage to make it round another lap. He will be in with a very good shout, but no, it doesn't look like he can. He's coming in this time round very much on fumes. He's got 66 more laps to go if he wants to try and make it home on one more tank, but he has given himself that option for later in this stage.
Yeah, he has indeed. I always, he might be doing what I do, whereas I always calculate these sort of things on 1 or 2 laps less than the posted distance, because I expect to be lapped by about 1 or 2 laps. So it kind of cuts it down. You can do it in 64 laps rather than 65s.
Yeah, it's that thing of, sort of counting back and trying to work out the race distance. And yeah, it is tricky to do. And it's one of the things that, another thing in sim racing that, you have to be your own race engineer sometimes. Sometimes you've got a couple of friends that might be doing spotting for you and helping you out. But most of the time, you're your own race engineer, you're your own strategist and stuff like that. I completely butchered saying strategist there. But your own strategist, you're doing all the work that normally a team would do for you. And that is really a tricky thing to do.
It is. You're driving and then you're counting laps in your head and trying to work out, when the lap number where you can make it to the end. And I do like seeing good strategy. Throwing caution to the wind with those strategies. I tend to do it myself if I know I don't have I don't usually have much of a chance of winning the race. So I always try to roll the dice with a bit of strategy and see if it pays off. Usually 10 out of 10 times it doesn't pay off.
Yep. I find it never pays off personally, but it's always nice to make a bit of difference and try something different. As I said, in that truck race where I think I gained a position with my one-stop strategy, but I was a couple of laps down. But I was so proud of myself for the fuel saving. It was one of those things of just like you just have that little bit of pride.
Yeah, it's always good when you can make it to the end like that. And I think the problem is with the length of the races that we do, they're not quite long enough for that sort of stuff to kick in to show the full benefit of it. Um, yeah, I think you need, full runs for it to sort of play out.
Yeah, that's it. Sometimes you need to see how it goes, and of course, if a caution gets thrown now, it all goes out the window, of course, and that's one of the big things too. Is a caution could really throw it out. But so far, everybody's been very well behaved and very good out on the track. We're not seeing anybody really having too much trouble, and the car seems pretty settled, which is great to have. So if this race runs to the flag, it could be a really interesting finish, and we could see some people up in the top 10 who have absolutely done a great job on the old strategy side of things.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look and see. Norman is definitely a lap down. I'm not quite sure how far behind though is, how close he is to going 2 laps down. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, all the leaders will need to pit again, I'm sure, up to about position 20, I believe. We'll all be pitting again twice.
Yeah, so Norman's got uh, about half a lap until he goes a second lap down. So he's about half. He's got a good amount of time. So he's got a fair distance. Norman Clark's only 45 seconds off the lead at the moment. So it's a 31-second lap. So he's got plenty of time. So sitting in a fairly decent position. Of course, you lose through pit lane, you're going to lose about 42, 43 seconds. So if he can remain within about 40 seconds of the leader, he could be looking at a good top 5 finish at least.
Yeah, it could play out really, really well for him.
But of course, he has to save about 2 more laps of fuel than he did last stint, and that could be tricky. Depends how much he was saving from the start of that stint. Of course, it's easier to save a bit more fuel early on, I guess, because you've got that bit more grip in the tyres. So you can actually make a bit of time up, I guess, using the tyres a little bit more and sort of pushing a bit more on the corners as Justin Witcher comes in for his second stop. So he's well and truly
Is it for a
in
second
the
stop,
second
or
stop.
has he had an
Yeah,
issue?
second stop. I think it's actually. Oh, he's only been out for 12 laps, so he's had an
Okay.
issue. What's gone on for Justin Witcher? We saw Witcher was right up there earlier on. Um,
Yeah,
so maybe he's just come
okay,
in for a quick splash and dash.
maybe. You can make it from
Right.
here, so yeah. Not sure. I thought he might have crashed. There was just an event that had triggered up on here, which said
Yeah,
that he might have crashed, but
he locked up on the exit of the corner, but he was stationary for about 6.4 seconds. So
hmm.
just topping up the fuel, he'd only done 12 laps, so he's just done a splash and dash. So interesting strategy call there from
Yeah,
Justin Whittaker.
that's another different strategy I haven't thought of, but that's pretty awesome. That's good. I'll be really interested to see how it pays off for him.
Yeah, that could be a really good call for him because obviously he can make it home now on fuel, and he's not got the advantage of tyres. But if the tyres are holding on, which obviously they are, the tyres can hold on to that point. They're not going to be the fastest things in the world, but they hold on relatively well. Um, One to watch out for.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's a interesting little call there, and this is what I love about racing is strategy like this.
yeah.
It's a very different form of racing, of course, and it's one I was listening on the weekend. I think it was Montoya. Yeah, it was Juan Pablo Montoya talking up in the commentary booth in pre-practice Prix, I think it was, in the Grand Prix at Miami. And he was talking to Jenson Button about how they need to bring back refueling in Formula One to give that chance of I can't pronounce strategy tonight,
Strategy.
obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't pronounce it tonight. I just keep going weird with how I pronounce it. But bringing
That's all right.
back strategy and bringing back that strategic options. And I absolutely agreed with him because fuel stops do bring in a lot of different strategies, and it
It's
can
true.
really make a difference for the race because you can of course take a lot of fuel on board and go for a nice long stint, or you can try a short stint, or you can try many different things. And of course it does mean that you might not see so much action out on track for passes, but it does make the race interesting, and it can make for some really interesting results. If somebody pulls a fantastic strategy out of the hat, they can absolutely come out of nowhere and end up, getting a great victory. So watch out for Justin Witcher in this one. He is well in with a shout, of course. Um, that's to say that everybody else will stop and take tyres and fill their tank up, of course, because obviously you're only going to take as much fuel as you need. But if everybody takes tyres, they're going to be stationary for about what 14 seconds, I think it is in these cars. So Justin Witcher will have gained a good 10 seconds on the rest of the field just using that splash and dash strategy.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how it plays out. Yeah. I mean, the strategies and racing. Oh man, you're gonna get me started. But the stage racing in NASCAR, just
Oh God, I hate it so
I
much.
hate it because it kills that long-term strategy. Like like okay, you've got 500 miles.
Scurlock,
Okay,
sorry, Scurlock coming in.
he's coming
So
in for splashing up as well. I know.
yeah, I'd say he's coming in just to top up the tank. We've got
Yep.
50 laps remaining here, so he's coming in. Will he just take fuel, or will he take tyres as well? Are we going to see him take some tyres to try and get a little bit more speed? He's done 31 laps on this stint, so interesting to see here what happens. Yep, he's taking tyres.
He's taking rights, definitely.
Just right. Oh no, he's
Yep,
taking lefts as well, so
lefts
it's
as well.
full stop as well. So where does this put him out in comparison to Justin Witcher? That's going to be an interesting one. Um,
I think Witch is in danger of going 2 laps down. Scurlock's currently 1 lap down.
yeah, Witcher is a minute. Uh, sorry, yeah, Witcher is a full minute off the lead at the moment. So he's getting to that point where Neil Pearson is catching him quite briefly. Neil Pearson is just a couple of car lengths behind him at the moment. Um, so Scurlock is pretty safe there, I believe. Scurlock has got out ahead of him. He's just in front of Norman Clark, actually, Michael Scurlock. So, as I said, this could be interesting for Norman's strategy. As I said, I think he could be well within it could be in for a top 10 finish tonight, or even a top 5 finish if things play out. So we'll have to see how this one plays out there. But Scurlock will have some absolute pace now. And when will Pearson decide to come in? Will he try and cover off Scurlock, or will he stay out there hoping for a late caution? And this is again part of the strategy coming into play. And exactly what you were saying, Matt. The stage racing kills all of that
Uh,
intrigue.
I just hate it. I always liked how you've got 500 miles and okay, you've got to here's your start point, here's your finish point. How you get there is totally up to you. You know, you would always see Kevin Harvick. He would always start out the race sucking, but they called him the closer because he was always there at the end winning races because
Yeah.
they had a long-term strategy to get him there at the end. But
Well, that's it.
stage racing now is purely the fastest cars. That's it. And whereas they used to be, I feel like you used to be able to take this car that wasn't the fastest car and use strategy to get you up there.
Exactly. Oh, it's kind of like the whole debate about not being able to change a car after qualifying, things like that, not being able to change setups and things like that. It's it kind of it's silly because you could just obviously people will set their car up to have a good race pace, but it's always the fastest car that is going to be in the lead of qualifying and in the lead of the race, and it kind of changes it up so people can't make mistakes in their setup strategy and people can't make great jumps, and you kind of miss out on some of those odd performances where you'd randomly get a car coming from the midfield and getting a random good points finish, and it takes a lot of the fun out of racing, I feel.
Yeah, I always feel fuel and tire drop off is what they should be focusing on, and rather than aero. I seem to
Hmm.
remember like a V8 V8 supercars race years ago. I think Perth, where what that track name is, I forget. Sorry, but they had big tire dig, and I remember watching a race where I think Lowndes, they came in late, grabbed a set of tyres, and he just smashed the field and charged through. And I think he ended up passing and winning the race on the last lap or something. But because he just had fresh tyres, he was like 2 or 3 seconds a lap quicker than everybody else. And
Yeah,
and it's just strategy. The amount of times I've seen Chad Knaus pull in Jimmy Johnson on the caution with 10 laps to go and chuck a fresh set of tyres on it, and Jimmy would go up and win the race. Just
exactly. It's I
yeah,
mean, luckily, I feel IndyCar still has that aspect to it, and it's been great for some of their races. There's been some really good performances of people
yeah.
chucking on
Indy's
the right
great at the
tires.
moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it just adds to that, adds to the theatrics, but also adds to the interest and intrigue because it just gives people a little bit more of an option, gives people a little bit more racing involved. We've got racing out on track still though, because we've got Jason Martin currently battling with Ruben Phelps. These two in seventh and eighth position, having a great little battle for the moment, trying their best to get those positions. Really putting on a good show as it stands. Nathan Button coming down pit lane as well, and looks like Jason Martin might have it here. Goes down the inside, tries to make the run on the inside, but this late in the stage, the tyres are going to be a bit worn. Ruben will get better drive off the corner. They get great run off the corner here. It is the 06 versus the 21, and Phelps manages to keep it a nose ahead at the moment. Jason Martin under brakes, so under lift, I should say. A little bit of tap of the brake just to get it in. Gets down nice and early, gets ahead of Phelps. Will he drop it up? Yes, he does. It doesn't quite have enough room. It does
It's
now,
clear
gets
now.
ahead of Phelps. Beautiful move. Phelps now trying to do the undercut, the crisscross, seeing if he can get past Martin, but he can't, and I think Phelps is coming into pit lane.
Yeah, drastically slowed.
So I think Phelps was holding on to that position until he lost it, so he's decided to pit now. Brenton Hobson coming in as well as Neil Pearson. So Pearson in pit lane. That means Wayne Burke is back in the lead of the race with Jaden Russell just behind him. So it is a Synergy car leading a Synergy car as Russell actually comes into pit lane right now. Josh Micklemore will then take second place. So Micklemore currently sitting in second. Barry Neal in third position, with Jason Martin in fourth. So we'll see how this one runs out, of course. And again, there's quite a few different strategies at play. So there's still a lot to go in this race. A good battle between Luke Traher, Jamie Nankervis at the moment. Those two are having a good little fight on track. And they have got Witcher and Raymond just behind them, who are also battling it out. So two battles, some slightly different laps at the moment. So
It's good to
interesting
see.
to see.
Looks like from all the pit stop information that we had up there, everybody's taking tyres by the looks of it. So it's sort of about 14 seconds for the pit stop times. So that would be consistent with taking 4 tyres.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's decided to do that, and it seems like it's probably the better way to go. The fresh tyres are a good second faster, so it is helping out an enormous amount. So it is really helping them at the moment. Just get that little bit of extra time. Justin Witcher's little strategy of the splash and dash is not really working out. He's currently down in 16th position. Make that 14th position, as he moves up as some people have come down pit road. So we'll see how that one plays out, of course, as this goes on. But he is a lap down, of course, so that's going to be, if a caution comes out, that's not going to help him. Current drivers on the lead lap are Wayne Burke, Josh Micklemore, Darren Loeb. Darren Loeb's been having a really quiet race, but he's worked his way up there into third from 22nd at the moment. Obviously, pit stops still to come. And Luke Traher sitting in fourth at the moment. So all of those drivers on the lead lap. Then it's Michael Scurlock, who is the lead car of the cars a lap down. He's also the lead car that's been in pit lane. He's got a good second and a half lead over Neil Pearson. So that early stop for Scurlock did pay off. but Pearson's coming back at him now with slightly fresher tyres. So it's a battle between those two for the race win if we remain green. Josh Micklemore coming into pit lane at the moment, so Micklemore's decided it's time to come in. 34 laps remaining here at Kansas Motor Speedway for the ANZCAR Cup.
Just watching this battle here with Scurlock and Pearson. Pearson is charging him down on those fresh tyres. I think the next lap or two he'll probably be there to make the pass. It's a good
Yeah, Pearson.
0.7 of a second a lap time quicker.
Yeah, he's got a big advantage in pace at the moment, and he's really closing him down.
Yeah, he's right on him now.
So much more grip and confidence through the corner there for Pearson. He's just able to drop it on that low line without any issue at all and just drive it through that corner like there is not a problem in the world. He gets through nicely, gets the pass done, and takes the effective lead of the race. Although it is Wayne Burke still in the technical lead of the race until he comes into pit lane, of course. Luke Trahere sitting in second at the moment. Darren Lobb coming into pit lane. He's decided it's time to pull the pin. Lap 98, so we've got 33 remaining. It's getting close. Luke Trahere coming into pit lane now. So Luke Trahere's decided it is time to pit. So we'll see where that fixes him up, of course. But Wayne Burke doing a good job in the lead at the moment, but he has got Neil Pearson all over the back of him, although it is for the lead lap, not for the lead of the race at the moment. But as soon as Pearson gets by, that just helps him out and just makes him feel a little bit more at ease, because if a caution flag does fly, at least he is on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's just unlapped himself there now. I'm looking at the wall and I'm looking at some of the cars, and I'm wondering if some of the drivers think we're still at Darlington, because there's quite a few stripes on the side of these cars and on the wall.
But just coming into pit lane now, he's decided to pull the pin. As Barrel a little bit further back, Norman Clark just getting passed by Josh Micklemore. Norman Clark, I think, still trying for that single stop strategy. We'll see how that one plays out for him at the end of the race, of course. Bit hard to say how it's going to go now, but he's sitting up in the top 10 at the moment, so he's sort of sitting in a fairly decent position, and if a caution flag flies, then he could be in with a really good shout. So he's sort of got some good track position. He's managed to gain 16 positions so far in the race, so it's a fairly decent run for himself.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the timing data here, just trying to work out sort of
He's
how far
20
away.
seconds behind Neil Pearson at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm just looking to the gaps to the cars behind him.
He's got he's being caught. Barry Neal's catching him at a vast rate of knots. Barry Neal's going to be catching him very, very shortly. Then Ruben Phelps is about 4 or 5 seconds behind that, with Jason Martin a couple of seconds behind him there. And then it's Justin Witcher, the next in line.
So I imagine those guys are going full noise, and Norman's having to save. So I imagine he'll get chased down, but he might be good for a top 10. We'll just have to wait and see.
As Barry Neal does make the move on Norman Clark. You see there, Norman just pulling it out of the way, not really fighting it too much. No point in putting in the battle effort and using up more fuel than you need to. I'd say the one to watch out for is Justin Witcher, because he is up in P11 at the moment. Of course, he can probably go a little bit faster, a little bit harder on fuel, because he's taking that little bit extra just to top him up to the end of the race. But he has just been passed by Neil Pearson, so he is properly a lap down now. So that's sort of, it's a tricky place to be, but it's still gained 4 positions overall. So it's not terrible, but it's not working out as much as I'm sure he hoped it would. No. Another driver on the move, of course, is Matty Ray, but he still has to pit one more time. So he's going to lose quite a few positions. So it's not been the usual performance from Mr. Matty Ray that we're used to seeing, of him coming from the back up to the top. But again, I think that just shows how tricky it is here tonight, and how close everybody is the fact that nobody's been able to really work their way from the back to the front with too much ease. Of course, one driver that has done a good job of that is Brenton Hobson. He has managed to move up into fifth position. He's made 13 positions in this race so far, so it's been a really good recovery from him after a poor qualifying effort, and he will be pretty happy with this result. If he can get a top 5 position tonight, that will be a good solid finish for him, and a good solid finish for the championship as the season trundles on. But there's still a long, long way to go, of course. But it's always nice if you can be in the lead of the championship. Sometimes it's much better to be in the lead than it is to be the one chasing you down.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty good points night for him as well, with Dyson not being here. So that'll I think it was 1 point leading into tonight, so that'll extend it. But obviously we're only 13 rounds in, and the drop rounds don't start kicking until round 26.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a long, long way to go.
Long way to go.
I know. It almost feels like it kind of feels like we're mid-season already, and then you look at the calendar and you're like, oh, good God, we've still got 20 odd races to go. Very close moment there.
Yeah, that was interesting. They all got through clean.
And this is the time where you've really got to watch out for drivers making mistakes as well, because you're getting into that stage where you've done a good 100, so that's 107 laps now, and fatigue starts to set in. Drivers' focus starts to wane a little bit, and you do start to have that little bit of, even things like your vision can start to play up a little bit, especially if you're using VR or something. You can start to get a little bit of teary-eyedness. I'm just looking at Adam Malone right now. He's got Josh Micklemore beside him and Tom Freer just behind him, and those three are very close together right on track at the moment. But it is that time where if you start getting a little bit of a watery eye or something like that, it's very easy to misjudge something and very easy to make a mistake and take somebody out of the race.
Yeah, and you can also be feeling as well that you're running down lower in the order, so it doesn't you're not concentrating as much because you don't feel like there's as much on it. But then you accidentally make a mistake in front of the lead lap cars.
Yeah, we've seen that happen a few times, of course, and we've seen that happen with lapped cars as well. It's an easy thing to have happen. Currently, we have got 27 cars still running this race. The final car at the moment on track is Tristan Koch in 27th. Noddy Tompkins, Dave Douglas, and Moko Dortnack all out of this race, unfortunately. But good running so far. As we say, clean from start to finish at the moment. We've not seen that dreaded yellow flag appear for anyone, which is always a nice thing. And I'm sure the drivers will be hoping it remains that way for the rest of tonight. 20 laps remaining. We are getting down to the tail end of this race. It's absolutely gone by like a quick thing, quicker than Neil Pearson. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Who is currently leading the race and has the fastest lap as well, as a 31.112. So Neil will be pretty happy if he can get the victory tonight.
Maybe we should spot some debris on the track and throw a caution.
Oh, look, I think I see a little bit of debris just out of turn 4. We'll get a driver throwing out a bit of their car in a minute. And
their water bottle, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Oh dear! At least that's one thing that they've not simulated yet in racing sims, is the ability to throw the odd random bit of metal from your car out of the car.
Oh, how many times would people throw stuff at other people that wreck them?
Oh dear, it would be a lot like Road Rash. I don't know if you remember that video game on the motorbikes where you'd be driving along and you'd have a chain and whip it around and beat people up with it. That could be an interesting aspect to iRacing. Maybe for April Fools they should do something like that to make it a little bit more fun.
We should bring out the Tony Stewart helmet throw.
It could be a new achievement on Steam, the Tony Stewart Award, if you can throw your helmet perfectly at the car. Jamie Nankervis and Justin Witcher at the moment having a great battle out on track side by side. Justin Witcher, of course, on older tyres than Nankervis. Nankervis on some slightly fresher rubber. These two can make it home to the end, though, on fuel. We believe that Witcher just came in for that little top-up. He's okay. They're trying to catch Norman Clark at the moment, and they've got a fair few seconds to make up for that. They've got a good 6 or so seconds to make up on Norman Clark right now. So they've still got some time to make up, and Norman Clark currently sitting in P11, 12 positions gained for him. If he can make it home on that single tank, this strategy will have worked quite well. And Andrew Dyson very much remembering Road Rash there. Absolute legendary game, especially on the old PS1. I think it was even on like the Mega Drive as well. It was like, it was pretty cool.
I missed
Um,
out. I missed out. I have to go back and maybe find it somehow.
yeah, it's well worth it. It's some pretty fun stuff. But it is up front. It is DPR leading. How many times have we said that? They've been having a fantastic year so far, and it is the red flavour of Mr. Neil Pearson. Michael Scurlock in second with the fantastic moustache, of course, the handlebar moustache. Then it is Wayne Burke, who has been having a really good run. He's sort of kept it out there. He stopped a lot later, so he's on the freshest tyres as well. And he is right behind Scurlock. And I tell you what, he could be in with a shout of getting a bit further up as he gets past Scurlock here. He's got 5 seconds to make up on Pearson at the moment, and his time is about he needs to go a fair bit quicker. But if Pearson makes a little bit of a mistake here or loses a bit of time, Wayne Burke could be in with a really good shout. But this is definitely up for a career best finish in ANZCAR for Wayne Burke at the moment. He's had a really good run, and that strategy is playing out well. Staying out that bit longer has really paid off for him, and those fresh tyres are really coming alive at the end of this race.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to have enough laps to get it though. 5 seconds and 14 laps to go.
Yeah, he needs to be a good half a second quicker, and he is definitely not. He's only a couple of tenths, so he's not. I don't think he's got the pace to catch up to Pearson unless Pearson makes a mistake or gets caught up
And there's
in
traffic.
a monster of traffic jams, which is currently ahead of him. A lot of veterans here though, and I imagine they will try and make his life a little bit easier, but they are still racing each other as well. This is the battle with Jason Martin at the moment. Jason Martin, Darren Lobb as well, just in there. Ruben Phelps. All these three drivers are battling away for 8th position at the moment, so they are not wanting to yield at all. They don't want to lose any time, and this could be the thing that costs Pearson an enormous amount of time if these guys start battling it out. But I imagine having a teammate on the low line might help Pearson out a little bit. Darren Lobb might just be quite kind to his team leader and just help him through as they go 3 wide into turn 1. Neil Pearson threading the eye of the needle, gets it through beautifully there. Pearson just gets past that traffic.
So now all that traffic is battling for the lucky dog. All three of them.
They will really be put. If they weren't fighting hard before, they're going to be fighting even harder now. This battle is really, really on. Just glancing back a little bit, Norman Clark has a fairly decent lead over Jamie Nankervis at the moment. He's still got about 4 seconds over Nankervis, and speed-wise, it's only about a tenth, so a couple of tenths in it. So Norman Clark could be in with a P11 tonight, and not quite the top 10, but it's just if he can make it home on that fuel, and that's a lot to ask because he has to make it an extra 2 laps than he did in his first stint. So that's quite a lot of, well, an extra lap because he has gone a lap down, of course. So that does make it slightly easier, but still a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, almost 10 laps to go now. These the guys are still battling hard for the lucky dog.
And Neil Pearson just pulling out a very fast lap, 32.1 compared to Wayne Burke's 32.3 there. So Pearson is starting to get a good run now, pushing away at the front of the pack. He is really just got a really good lock on this track and has just been driving so well, of course. Staying out that little bit longer than Michael Scurlock on this stint. Has got some slightly fresher tyres that has really helped him out an enormous amount, and yeah, it's definitely paid off for him by the looks of it. Michael Scurlock sitting in 3rd position. He's got a good couple of seconds over Jaden Russell, who's sitting in 4th. 5th is Brenton Hobson, who is a fair bit away from Russell. A good 8 or so seconds behind. Then it's Josh Micklemore a couple of seconds down the road, and Barry Neal, last car on the lead lap at the moment, sitting in P7.
Yeah, good run for Barry. He had that trouble early, but he's recovered pretty nicely.
Yeah, considering he was sideways in that race early on, he's done a really good job of recovery. So, and starting as well, he started down in started down in 21st place. So he's gained 14 positions. I think he gained 14 positions in the early race,
Hmm.
then lost about 20, and then's gained them back again. So he has had a very busy night indeed.
So I know you've been struggling with the word strategy in that tonight. What team does Barry drive for?
Ayator,
It's getting better.
yeah, one day I'll get it. It's Ayator Aurora.
Aotearoa.
Ayator. Yeah, the one.
I'm in the country and my pronunciation is still terrible, so don't
Yeah,
worry. Don't stress.
in Kiwi. uh, it's always fun. It makes life interesting. But yeah, one day I will pronounce it perfectly, and it will happen eventually. Probably out of accident rather than me perfecting the word for it. I
Well,
think Brad Allison's pulling into pit lane again, but he's a fair few laps down, so I think he might be just coming in just getting out the way of a few people. Um, Tom Freer's night's gone a little bit downhill. His car is looking a little bit wobbly. Unfortunately, he had some good speed early on in the race, but it has fallen off the cliff now, sadly. So it's had a good showing, but it's still yet to get perfect for him. Gary Wellman just up in the wall in the Sim Boys entry, just tagging the wall there, and Gary Wellman just saving the car. A lot of people really hitting that wall out of turn 4 tonight, struggling to get the car turned. It looks like it gets really tight up there. We've only got 4 laps remaining now, so we are getting very much to the end of this race. Um, Darren Lobb has managed to pull out a decent lead over Jason Martin for that battle for the lucky dog spot, though. So he's done a good job. Just behind him is Ruben Phelps in 10th place, and that's the top 10 at the moment.
yeah, it's the closest battle on the track at the moment. Just keeping an eye on that.
I
But
think one to watch out for is Norman Clark and Jamie Nankervis, because Nankervis has got a really good run on Norman Clark at the moment. Nankervis on much fresher tyres, 32 laps compared to 61 laps, and of course he has got fuel to make it to the end. Norman Clark's probably having to let that car breathe a lot more than he'd want to at the moment, just to try and get that car home. So he is a little bit shy on the old fuel gauge, but he's done a good job, and if he can make it, he'll be I think he'll be one of the only cars out there to manage a one-stop strategy. Actually, Maddie Ray, Phil Otto,
although,
Scotty
yep.
Griffiths all on a single stop at the moment. But there is still a couple of laps to go. 2.5 laps, in fact. So Norman Clark and Jamie Nankervis are going to be battling it out. So that's probably the closest battle that we've got on track at the moment. So keep an eye on things, because that can change in a heartbeat sometimes. As Nankervis just catches the wall, and that's going to slow him down a tiny bit. That's exactly what Norman Clark would have wanted to see in his mirrors. Not that you ever want to see a competitor making a mistake, but
Yeah,
if they're catching you at a vast rate of knots, it's kind of a useful thing.
you're catching and catching, and you got fresher tyres and you're quicker and you should pass them, but you got two laps left and you start panicking and start overdriving the car and pushing a bit. I think
Yeah,
Norman's
that
going to hold on to that now.
he is, as Neil Pearson has taken the white flag, and he is coming up for the final lap of the race. Half a lap remaining here. Pearson's just got 2 corners to make it through now, and he is very close to getting the win for tonight's race, as the checkered flag will come out. It will be his 3rd win of the season. But Neil Pearson taking the victory here at Kansas Motor Speedway. Wayne Burke comes home in 2nd place. A great finish for him. Michael Scurlock in 3rd. Jaden Russell will be coming home in 5th position. Just watching a little bit further back, as just keeping an eye on Norman Clark. He has made it home. Norman Clark has just beaten Jamie Nankervis. Just makes it home on that single stop strategy, and he's made it work somehow. Great job from Norman Clark in P11. But really good race out there. Great result, and absolute great drive for Neil Pearson from start to finish. Missed out on pole by just a couple of tenths. but got the victory in the end. Got the fastest lap, and I think he got the most laps led as well.
Yeah, he definitely dominated the second half of that race. Took his time, worked his way up to the front, and ran away with it.
Did it indeed, and deciding to have a subdued
Put the camera
celebration.
on him for a birthday, for a burnout, and he didn't do it.
No burnout. So 50-point penalty for him. I'll let him know he's received that once he gets up in the booth.
Yeah.
Um, a really good job from a few drivers out there tonight. So, as we said, Wayne Burke, really good job up in P2. Darren Lobb as well, another good performance, getting in the top 10 in 8th position. Um, and Norman Clark in P11. Really good runs from them. Biggest gainer of the night was actually Barry Neal with 14 positions gained. So nice work from him tonight. Brenton Hobson was the second with 13 positions, and then Paul Jackson and Nathan Button with 12 positions gained each, and Norman Clark actually 12 positions gained. So good job from all of those drivers tonight. I think this is.
Run through the results if you like.
Yeah, we'll run through those for you. So it was, of course, Neil Pearson taking the victory with Wayne Burke in second, Michael Scurlock in third, Jaden Russell in fourth, fifth for Brenton Hobson, sixth for Josh Micklemore, Barry Neal came home seventh, Darren Lobb in eighth, ninth was Jason Martin, Ruben Phelps came home in 10th. Then we roll it over the page, and it is Norman Clark, the one-stop wonder, in 11th, Jamie Nankervis in 12th, 13th for Luke Traher. Justin Witcher didn't quite work out how he wanted it to with that strategy, although he did gain 2 positions over his starting point. So positions gained rather than lost in 14th. Paul Jackson, 15th, 16th for Nathan Button. Maddie Ray in 17th position, gaining 7 positions in the end. 18th for Adam Malone. Devon Stove started where he finished in 19th position, and Phil Otto in 20th position. Next over, it's Gary Wellman, 21st, Scotty Griffiths, 22nd, Tom Freer, 23rd, Brad Allison, 24th, 25th for Stuart Patterson, Tristan Koch, 26th, 27th for Raymond Yeager, Noddy Tompkins, 28th, 29th for Dave Douglas, and Mirko Dornak in 30th, the first of retirees tonight. So, just have a quick look through my bits and bobs here. So, give me one moment, because I think this is. I'm trying to think if this is Wayne Burke's debut in the Cup or not. So I've
Don't
seen him
know.
in a few of our races in some of the other series, but I've got a feeling this might be his debut for the Cup. So a very good debut indeed, if so, because I don't have him on my sheet at all. So I'm pretty sure it is his debut. So a really good job from him tonight. So what we will do is we'll grab up first of all the third place finisher, Mr. Michael Scurlock, the bandit of BMXs and bandit of many other things as well. Michael Scurlock, welcome to the broadcast booth. Always a pleasure to have you up here, and congratulations on P3 tonight.
Well, thank you, Carl. I got backdoor bandit there, mate. Backdoor bandit. That's
Hey,
one of my major things.
you're a bandit of many things, and it's a pure racer as well. We saw some great racing out there tonight, and you were involved in a fair bit of it. You tried your best to get that car up into first place, but just couldn't quite make it in the end. You kind of finished where you started, but it wasn't as easy as that through the race. You really took it to the leaders and really tried to get that win tonight.
Yeah. I thought I didn't know what happened at the start. I thought, man, these guys just gave me that because, like, I obviously started off in third, and then by the end of the first corner, I was in first. So I was like, "What are you doing, guys? Come on! Like, this track is pretty crucial that you're in front, you know." So, and then from there, I felt good, but yeah, just the setup was different. I really practiced with the other setup, and this one really chewed the front end off of the car. Like the other one would trend towards getting slightly looser, so you'd actually be able to drive with the rear. And this one went the opposite. So I just couldn't figure out how to keep my front tires on. So after about 30 laps, Neil was just chewing time out of me. Luckily, there was only Wayne who, yeah, everyone else I sort of been able to hold off. But yeah, those two sort of they had a plan, I think, and it worked for them.
Yeah, they they sort of worked it out sort of well, stopping a little bit later than you as well for some slightly fresher tyres towards the end, and it seemed that paid off a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why I dived in so early on that last one. I was just confused, mate. There's a lot of noises going on in the Discord. A lot of I don't know. I think it was only me and Luke racing at the end, so it was like a party in the background. So I was getting sort of, I don't know, my mind wasn't really working probably. So I just went in probably 10 laps too early. I don't even know why I did it. And then luckily I held on for third. I thought Russell might have got me, but his tyres must have worn off right near the end as well.
So what you're saying is it's all Douglas and not Dornack's fault that happened?
No, I was like involving myself in it too. I was
Just
having a
blame
good time.
give them the blame. That's the best way to do it. Is blame them for all your problems. Put all the problems on Dave Douglas. That's my strategy. Look, it was a solid run tonight and a solid performance as well. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you'd prefer a little bit higher up, but good race all in all. I mean, green from start to finish as well. That was great to see, and it looked like the car was a little bit more forgiving than usual.
Yeah, it definitely was, and that's what happens when the car gets tighter rather than looser. So, and it's such a one-line track. I don't know if you heard me. I had got a little bit out there tonight, was yelling at some people.
Yeah, I heard a
Apologise
little.
to apologise to them. I was getting a bit wound up just because there is only one line here, and basically you can come up and lap a whole bunch of cars, but if they're all running the fast line, they actually become faster than you again because you can't pass under the inside. It's actually slower than a slow car. So
Yeah.
you can either just sit behind people doing 2 seconds a lap slower or try and pass them, and you might get around them, but you wear your tyres off completely trying to do it, and then you're slower than them again. So it's just really frustrating. It's one of those things that drives you nuts.
Yeah, it's one of the tricky things, and of course, as we say, no blue flags in oval racing, which can sometimes make it harder because sometimes people are not so willing to get out the way, and it can easily make the old temper boil. But you handled it well, and you got there in the
I
end.
don't know
So
about that. If they could only hear, mate. If they could only hear what I was saying, but yeah,
that's right.
it's all
I
right.
did hear what you said. No, but congratulations tonight. Look, the usual thing of love and shout out to all of your adoring fans out there.
Yeah, just shout out to you boys for putting this on. The BMX Bandits. Just yeah, Neil for winning. He did well there. He stuck with his plan. He did it. There's a couple of key players that weren't here tonight, which made my job a bit easier. And like one of the reasons why I haven't been on the podium in a long time. So like I said, I'm happy just to get up here, mate. I always am. So top 3 is my goal every time. So I'm happy.
Always a pleasure to have you up here, Scurly, and I hope we will get you back here, and hopefully it'll be just like a couple of steps higher next time as well.
Yeah, and thank you. And shout out Michael Ladder. Come
Thank
back.
you so much, Scurly. We'll see you again
Wow.
soon.
It's a name
Yeah.
from the past.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Wayne Burke is here. So just checking things out. So unfortunately, don't see him anywhere. So what we'll do now is we'll grab up our race winner, Mr. Neil Pearson from DPR. Mr. Neil Pearson, welcome to the broadcast booth and congratulations on a dominant victory.
Thank you very much, Carl.
It is always a pleasure to have you up here. I always enjoy having you here, and I always enjoy watching you out on track as well. And tonight, you put on a fantastic show, and we're just absolutely on fire out on the track.
Yeah, I struggled here last year. I just didn't have any good finishes, so I put in a bit of effort this week, and it paid off by a lot, more than I
Yeah,
thought it would.
yeah, a good 5 and a bit, well, almost 6 seconds it paid off at the end. It really went your way. Obviously, that slightly later stop must have helped out a little bit for fresher tyres in that final stint.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed Scurly was pitting a bit early, so I wanted to try even out the stints a bit, and yeah, and I think it just helped. And I was worried a bit about Wayne Burke because yeah, he was 10 laps younger than me. But I noticed in the second stint he did the same thing, but then our times really just evened out and he couldn't gain. So I was hoping that would happen again in the third, and thankfully for me it did.
Yeah, he sort of maybe if he'd pitted 5 laps earlier in each stint might have paid off a little bit better for him. But it's still a second place on debut is a nice one to him.
Oh, he
Sadly,
raced Richmond, so it's not his
oh,
debut.
did he?
So yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
still, it's his first, he's doing well as
Yeah,
someone who
it's
doesn't race very often.
because I was trying to look for him through my sheet and I didn't actually have him on it. So I was sure I'd seen him in here. I know I've seen him in Trucks and Xfinity at least once, but yeah, there's too many things going on sometimes. As you know, it makes things harder.
It really does.
Oh, I know it does not make things easy. But tonight, you really had a good show out there. Obviously, you almost took out everything. You missed out by on pole by just a gnat's hair, so just a tiny little bit there for you. But fastest lap tonight, I think the most laps led as well, and of course the win. You must be pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, I am pretty happy. I mean, I only just got the best lap by like 2 thousandths or something, but it's still there. It's still mine. So I'm pretty happy. Um, yeah, it was a good lap from Ruben to get that pole. Pretty happy for him to be up there. So it's good.
Yeah, look, I mean, Ruben has been doing some great qualifying laps recently, so that has been something. That's something he's very good at is the 1 lap pace, and once he gets that full race pace unlocked, he's going to be a dangerous one for the race times as well. But you just seem to have it when you're on it completely, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one to answer. I mean, I felt comfortable out there, because I had such a bad time last year. So I just felt comfortable and I was able to just do what I wanted to do. And, I didn't have Daiso out there ruining my victory. So it's good.
Exactly. I mean, not having Dyson out there makes life so much better. And I mean, it's a nice thing to not see Dyson out there. It's always a pleasure.
That's
But
it.
no, it's a good result, and I mean, you're keeping up the DPR victories as well. That's the main thing. It's been a really good season for your team, obviously. Good night for you guys as well. You had Darren up in P8, I think it was at the end. So that's always a good one for you too, as well. Obviously, getting a few more of the drivers in the old oval section as well. You've really been having a good season so far.
Yeah, the team's really coming on strong. We got a few new drivers running this season, with Darren and a couple of others. And without Steve and Daiso here, it's good for Darren to come up and have a really good result with 8. He's up 17 spots in the end, because and that's a really good run for him, and it's good.
Yeah, and I just got to ask you, how do you put much effort in the week, sort of teaching some of those drivers that are sort of newer to the oval sort of side of things? Do you do much effort in sort of talking them through the race or things like that? Are you sort of talking to them as the race goes on, giving them ideas for strategy, or is it all on their own effort?
Well, I mean, I gave Daiso a lot of help, and that's kicked me in the ass now.
You learnt
So
your lesson there.
my lesson. So they're like Lob, I think he just rocked up on the night and just did what he had to do because he's got other commitments throughout the week. So like I was basically just helping him in practice, just hit his lines and making sure he qualifies. So because he did one week where he hit the wall twice and both laps and didn't qualify when he would have. So yeah, and then we're basically just trying to help him out with strategy, trying to keep him on what I'm sort of doing, and yeah, just go from there.
Look, congratulations tonight. Look, really good effort from yourself and of course the team and all the hard work you put in. A well-deserved victory tonight. And before I let you go, the usual thing is shout out and love to sponsors and people you'd like to say hello to.
Yeah, you guys, Performance e-streaming for the broadcast as always. And then simrigs.com, Southwell listed hoists, Ben Max Mechanical, Phoenix Smokers, NP Designs, and just my team, for just really being there and supporting, and we all push each other pretty hard, and we have a lot of fun. So what it's all about.
Congratulations on the win tonight, Neil. Hopefully, we'll get you back in the booth soon. And I usually say, hopefully, it'll be one step higher. You can't really go any steps higher, so hopefully, you'll be on the same step again.
Filet.
Thank you so much, Neil. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Carl.
And finally, I'm actually going to grab up because I see him in the green room. The man that did the one stop wonder, Mr. Norman Clark tonight. Seeing we don't have Mr. Wayne Burke out there tonight. I'm going to grab up Norman Clark to the broadcast booth to say hello to him quickly and also just chat about the strategy. Norman Clark, welcome to the broadcast booth.
Hi, how's it going there, man?
Good, thank you. Norman Clark, it's a pleasure to have you up here. We don't get to speak to you too often. We just wanted to drag you up, of course. You had a really good run out there and made the one-stop strategy work.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, Carl, my plan, I didn't actually have a plan. I just knew that I could probably do it on a one stop. But then, most of these races never go green. So you don't always worry about the one stop strategy. But I took it relatively easy in the beginning of the race, sort of looking after the stuff, and eventually started making my way past guys. And then closer to the refuel with it running green so long, I then eventually started saving fuel. I realized, hang on, I could maybe get this thing to a one stop. And that's really all I did, But in the second stint, I really did have to save fuel to make it to the end. And so I ended up a lap down. If I had to have done all the laps, I would have had about 300 meters of fuel left. So
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you because I knew you had to do about 2 or 3 more laps than you did on your first stint, of course, because you just had to come in just that little bit early. But obviously, being that 1 lap down helped a little bit.
Well, it did, but as I say, if I wasn't a lap down, I would still have made it on the way I had saved. I
Right.
would have, yeah. So
At
it
least
was,
you had that little bit of fuel in the tank because we saw Jamie Nankervis catching you at the end there and right on your tail, of course. So obviously, you had being that lap down, it gave you that little bit of an option to have a bit of defence on him.
yes, I was watching him all the time from a lot of laps before that, and when I realized, okay, he's starting to make his move, then I just checked and I had enough fuel, and then I started to just speed it up just slightly so he couldn't get me.
No, well done on tonight. Congratulations. 12 positions gained and the highest finishing one-stop strategy driver as well. So congratulations on that finish. And it's always a pleasure to have you up here in the booth, Norman. It's not very often we get you up here, but hopefully we'll get to speak to you again soon. And hopefully it'll be for a top 3 finish.
Yeah, one day, one day, hopefully, Paul, Carl. But yeah, this was just probably through age and treachery that this was done like this.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the top 3 finish you've had this year was not televised. So,
Yeah, no, that's true.
no, but
Yeah,
congratulations, Norman. Before I
yeah.
let you go, but the usual thing, shout out and love to sponsors and people in general.
Well, yeah, obviously to the boys in the Natari team and that, although I was on my own tonight. But AJD Australia and then Fully Flawed Limited. Yeah, that's it.
No worries. Thank you so much, Norman Clark, Atari Autosport, and hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. All the best. See you later.
A great race there from Norman, and great to have somebody up in the booth that's had a good finish. It's nice to grab up some people that had some interesting races. We always love to talk to the top 3, but if one of the top 3 doesn't show up, then it gives us an opportunity to have a bit of a chat to somebody else. But what a great race tonight! Great driving from everybody, Matt.
Yeah, it was a good race. Obviously, no cautions. Pretty good. It's a good idea actually getting somebody else in different. And I see Dyson's put in the chat that it's a good idea as well. So maybe we'd look at continuing with it. If there's somebody in the green room, we just grab someone else at random after we do the top 3 and have a chat to them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, good battles. Good to see. Early on there was they're 2 wide, 4 deep, so that was pretty good. Good race.
Yeah, all in all, a really good result and a great run from everybody. It's always good to see, of course. Next time out, we will be at. I've completely forgotten where we are next time. It's an off week next week. Oh, hooray! It's a week off.
Is it a week off?
It is indeed. Yes, we are off next week. So we have a week off for next week. So we'll be back May the 25th for Charlotte Motor Speedway. So 200 laps at Charlotte. So 26th.
Yeah, I've got a nice new graphic I made up, so it says the 26th.
Oh yeah, it is the 26th.
Hopefully it's correct, otherwise I've wasted all that time.
It's the 26th because otherwise it's on the Wednesday, which would be wrong. So so for some reason the wrong date just on the system. That's okay. That's I am looking at the cup, aren't I? Yes, I am. But yeah, we have got an off week next week, so we will be back on May the 26th for Charlotte Motor Speedway. As always, a big thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. Please like, subscribe, the usual things, and also share around. If you can share around, it really does help us out an enormous amount. It puts more eyes on the broadcast. More eyes on the broadcast helps those teams out as well with sponsors and just helps everything grow. But a big thank you to everybody, and we will see you all again in a couple of weeks' time. As always, a big thank you to Mr. Matty Hunter for all his hard work in the broadcast booth. I'm, as ever, Carl Wilkinson with you, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Good night, all.
Good night.